Welcome to Creating Connections, Growing Inclusion, and an ERG virtually. I'm Elliot Cobb, and I will give more of an introduction to myself in a little bit, but wanted to make sure that everybody knew that they were in the right place and ready for this, what I'm hoping will be a really informative session, and most importantly, do what I love about Summit. Give something for y'all to take back to your own companies and your own workplaces to help grow inclusion and your ERG virtually and in person. So we are all from John Deere. So today we will be representing John Deere. John Deere is been to Summit for a number of years now. This is our second year though as a sponsor, our third year being nominated for an Audi, and our first year presenting a panel, and we are all super excited about it today. So I hope that we keep our enthusiasm up the whole time. We ask that you do too, because again, it is a later session. We hope that you're ready for that. Let me see here. I just got a message. I want to make sure I've got the right speaker view on. So let me just check my view real quick. Sorry, folks. Okay, I think we are on now. So our agenda today. We're going to do some introductions for who we are, and we're going to do some introductions for John Deere, because every time we come to Summit, we get a lot of interesting looks about how we've been, maybe from an older company, more conservative company. I can't believe John Deere is here. So we're going to give a little introduction about John Deere, our values, and Rainbow ERG. We're going to talk about our coffee chat, which is really our signature event and what we want to share with all y'all today. We're really excited. It's kind of our signature event, and it's really helped us grow our ERG. We're going to talk about how we've benefits of that. We're actually going to do a sample chat with a guest star today. We're going to do some talking about how we've expanded this globally, lessons that we've learned along the way, and lessons that other parts of John Deere have learned as well. And we've got handouts. We want to give you something again to take away with you, and they're in the files section of Pathable, so make sure you go out there and look at it. And with that, let's get into it. So introductions are in order. First off, I'm Elliot Cobb. My pronouns are they, them, theirs. I am a product owner for customer master data at John Deere's worldwide headquarters in Moline, Illinois. Real quick about me, I'm on our steering team for our Rainbow ERG, which is our LGBTQ plus ERG at John Deere. I've had about 15 years with the company and been a member of Rainbow since about its start. Been on the steering team now for this past year and worked on subcommittees and things of that. I used to host our coffee chats, which is part of why I'm here presenting to you today, along with my fabulous team. And I also want to talk a little bit just about me and myself to introduce you so you get to know me. The picture on the left is me at Out and Equal last year in Washington, D.C., right before the gala. And then on the picture on the right is my wife and my son and our two dogs at the Capital City Pride event in Des Moines, Iowa. And the reason I include that picture, besides just seeing my family, is you can see what Out and Equal and Summit has meant to me the last 2 years. It's really been a family for me. And even though I was remiss to pass them along to him, I let my son use my Mickey Mouse ears from Seattle 2 years ago. He did return them in pristine condition, so I was very happy about that. I'm asexual, panromantic, and genderqueer. So when people make jokes about the alphabet soup with our letters, I say haha, and that's true because that's me, but also representation matters. So each letter that we have out there standing for identity means so much, and it really helped me find my person, my personality, and my who I am late in life for me, because I didn't have those letters growing up, so it meant the world to me. So that's a little about me. Now I want to go ahead and want to go over and push it to Angie Lavender, who's one of our other panelists today. Angie?
Thank you, Elliot. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Angie Lavender. I've been with John Deere for almost 21 years now. I am a web applications manager for johndeere.com. I work in the marketing communications team specifically with the Ag and Turf Division, and I'm based in Cary, North Carolina. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. Um, I wanted to just talk a little bit about in my early career at John Deere. I was one of the few people at John Deere who I knew that was out as an LGBTQ person. Um, I started to learn that there were some more, but not a lot. And I think people who were LGBTQ back in those early days of my career, they didn't really know if it was safe to be out at work. So most people kept it to themselves. Um, in 2011, when Rainbow ERG started, I was really excited to hear about the group because I thought, wow, I'll find more people like myself. And I did join the group right away. I still learned right off that people were still not sure if it was safe to be out as an LGBTQ person, in spite of the fact that we had the ERG. So most people still kind of kept to themselves. The interesting thing was that it was kind of like a secret group. It was a private and confidential email list. So members who were in Rainbow didn't necessarily know who the other members were. And that was a little bit unusual. By 2015, I was working on the newsletter subcommittee and I was invited to be a member of the steering team. I was pretty excited about that. Within about 2 weeks of joining the steering team, I found out that we had a great opportunity to present to the CEO at the time and the senior leadership for Deere. So I flew to Moline, Illinois, where our headquarters is located, and attended a 30-minute meeting. That was a very impactful 30-minute meeting, let me tell you. I think it really opened the dialogue with diversity and inclusion, HR, and our leadership. And that's really when we started to see things change. At this point, we still had a confidential email list, and we wanted to change that, but it took some time. It took a few years. Let's see. I guess I will also say I was the chair for Rainbow in 2019, and I really love my day job, but my gay job, being with Rainbow and all the things we've accomplished, that's what I'm most proud of in my career at Deere. In the picture on the right, you can see my wife, Tammy. We've actually been married for almost 10 years. I like to say that on October 14th, we're celebrating our 10th anniversary of our first wedding because, like many other LGBTQ people, we have more than one anniversary. When we got married in 2010, it wasn't recognized in our home state or anywhere else for that matter. And so that date is still meaningful to us. We waited until 2014 when the very day that same-sex marriage became legal in the state of North Carolina, and we went and got married again that day. We were one of the first couples in our state, which was kind of exciting. So one of the things that we really like to do is to travel. We like road trips a lot, and Route 66 is a big favorite for us. I like to tell people we've traveled all 2,448 miles of Route 66 through 8 different states, most of the miles multiple times. And let's see. I think that's really about it. We've made a lot of great friends on our road trips. And now I would like to pass things over to my friend and Rainbow colleague, Anderson Mello.
Hello guys, I'm Anderson Mello. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I was born in a very, very small town here in Brazil, and my family is quite simple. Although well reserved with my sexuality, I grew up expressing a fake version of myself and hiding relevant part of me just to be accepted, or without euphemism, to survive. Because here in Brazil is one of the countries with the highest number of homophobic crimes in the world, right? So it was at John Deere that I felt safe to finally come out of the closet at work, and it's helped me to unlock barriers that I have created throughout my life. Since I've joined Deere's team in 2015, I'm being in charge of social media, advertising, shows, and digital strategies for our business here in Brazil. In 2017, I led the introduction of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee in our regional office. which first initiatives achieved expressive impact. And since 2019, I'm the leader of the Rainbow ERG here in South America. Vanya, my lovely dog that you can see in the picture, is my faithful partner. We live in Campinas, São Paulo, and it's common to find us at home listening to Brazilian music. And you need to see her judgment when I'm dancing alone in my house. And you also can find us cooking or having a typical Brazilian barbecue. All of this together with friends and family before quarantine, of course. Guimarães Rosa, a greater Brazilian said, que amor é a gente querendo encontrar o que é da gente, or in English is something like love is people searching to find what belongs to us. And I completely agree with him. That's the reason I believe that we can go beyond when we can run our lives with no restriction. And now that we know who we are, I would like to tell you who is John Deere. So next slide, Eda, please. Oops. Yes. We do extraordinary work for extraordinary customers. Over 180 years, John Deere have delivered products and services to support those linked to the land. With customers around the world, the company has been revolutionizing agriculture and construction. And I could use my best word to show who John Deere is, but I prefer you figure out our personality for yourself. So the way we look, the way we sound, and the way we feel. Enjoy the video.
Sweat and smarts. That's what got us here. We're in a position of strength thanks to the dedication and character of all John Deere people. Whether we make or market, inspect or perfect, we all deliver and keep delivering. Together, we move Earth and move the Earth forward with machines made of hard iron and hard data. And to keep leading, we need to take our next leap. We'll build up tools and technology. We'll support customers across the whole life cycle. We'll make production systems that produce more. More worth for our customers with less waste. This is no small feat. It will take all our grit and determination to create a revolution in precision, down to each seed, tree, blade of grass, each handful of dirt, each stretch of road. It must be done, Deere proud and Deere humble. Earned through our history of helping sustain and advance lives and livelihoods. From Illinois to India, around the globe, no one is more equipped to make this leap. Ready? On 3. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, I really love this video, and I always answer ready at the end. Are you hearing me? Yes? Okay. Let me come back to the topic. The full story of John Deere is one of people, places, and products that reflect our core values. One of the most famous quotes from our founder is, "I will never put my name on a product that doesn't have any need, the best that is in me." So that's the reason our first value is integrity, which for us means telling the truth, keeping our road, and treating others with fairness and respect. And it's so true in our process. That is the basis of our relationships and how we do business. We believe in diversity to create a high performance team that delivers value to all audiences, do our best to meet stakeholder expectations, and keep delivering breakthrough products and services. This is John Deere, so Elliot is with you.
All right, thanks, Anderson. So now that you know a little bit about us, you know a little bit about John Deere, let's talk a little bit about Rainbow. So that's our employee resource group, made up of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer questioning employees and straight allies. Like a lot of ERGs that I have met over the years at Out and Equal, we're made up mostly of straight allies in our membership. And they are so vital for us in terms of delivering the care and advancement of needs of our employees. So our goal is to seek a productive and inclusive environment for all employees. We provide training, education, heightened awareness of the experience in the workplace. And why Rainbow? Well, I mean, duh, but also, like Anderson was just talking about, we're linked to the land, the people that use the land, whether it be in construction and forestry, turf, or agriculture, of course. So that's why we chose that for our name. So I like to say that Angie talked about the early days of our ERG when she was introducing herself and the work that she's done since she came on board as a founding member with so many other people that came on board early on. We spent a lot of our time with Rainbow making changes behind the scenes. I say we were almost in the closet at John Deere because when it came to ERGs, because we were working behind the scenes. We were working on advancing things like transgender healthcare benefits for US employees. We were working on getting our smart dress policy updated in 2012, which seems so late when I talk to other people, but just heard some stories today earlier that made me feel a little bit better about that, so that was good. We're just about 10 years old. We're coming up on our 10-year anniversary for Rainbow next year, which will be very exciting for us. And when you think back that it's only been 10 years and we've helped work with our HR department, our Diversity and Inclusion Council at John Deere to help affect some real meaningful change for our employees, it means the world. And really, last year, we just got to the point where we launched a LGBTQ kind of 101 course, if you will, for employees. It's not for everybody. It's not mandatory by any means, but it is wonderful to be able to push out across regions. So Anderson's colleagues in South America can see it. Our folks in Europe can view it, and it gives us a chance to push out just some basic level settings so that when people start to engage with us in conversations, we can have that in a much more open and honest way. So we spend a lot of our time, like I said, behind the scenes, working on policy changes, working on things to advance the care for our LGBTQ plus employees, and also expanding globally, like Anderson mentioned in 2018 to South America and also with Europe, which we call Region 2. So if I flip back and forth, you all hold me accountable. But with that said, I wanted to turn over to Angie because Angie's going to talk us through how we started to then grow our membership. We were doing this with a pretty small group, Angie, and you're going to talk a little bit, I think, about how we started to grow it with a specific tool, our virtual coffee chats that really started out as a coffee chat.
Thanks, Elliot. So earlier during my intro, I talked a little bit about how our members were all part of a secret confidential mailing distribution list. People didn't really know who other members were. Most of our membership, and when I say our membership, we probably started out when I joined the steering team, I think we had 120 members by the end of that year. And most of those, more than half, were located near our headquarters in the Quad Cities around Moline, Illinois. So I was in Cary the whole time. It was really weird for me because all the activities that did take place all happened in the Quad Cities. We really needed to find a way to connect our members and inspire them to be more engaged. And it was hard to do that when people weren't really feeling comfortable to be out at work, right? They weren't even feeling comfortable to be out as allies at work, quite frankly. And people thought if I joined the subcommittee and actually start doing some of the activities, people will either think I'm gay if I'm an ally, or they'll know I am because I've joined this group. So people kind of like the secret nature. One of our steering committee members, she had a great idea. She was in the Quad Cities where most of our membership was. And she thought, what if we host a coffee chat in person at our little coffee shop here at headquarters every month? I'll put out an invitation to all of our members and offer to buy anyone who shows up coffee. At that point, we had 4 or 5 people who showed up regularly. It was the same 4 or 5 people. And so we didn't really accomplish our goal of getting more people to be engaged and feeling inspired to help, but what we did do is create connections with those few people. At that point in the time, I was on the steering committee, but as I said, the steering committee, we were doing all the work. And one of my responsibilities was to manage the shared mailbox. And one day, an email came through from one of our Rainbow members in Mexico. And the email was quite to the point. Hey, what is the telephone number so I can call in to join this coffee chat? And first I thought, wait a minute, we don't have a number. It's literally in a coffee shop, right? We don't have a phone there. But the steering committee, we used that idea. It really sparked an idea for us to host a virtual coffee chat instead. And that would give us the ability to reach out to a lot more of our members and hopefully get more people to join our group as well. So we made a plan for the first coffee chat. The initial early ones, only the steering team members were willing to speak up and present. We hosted the coffee chats and we built a template, which Elliot mentioned. We're going to have that available for you all later. At the end of the coffee chat, we had some announcements about Rainbow, and we put out a call to ask other people who were willing to share their own stories. During the coffee chats, what we talk about every time, people give a little bit of their personal and professional background. They talk about their hobbies, their passions, their interests, and always at the end, we close with sharing with others why LGBTQ inclusion is important at John Deere to them. I like to actually say the coffee chats are like the heartbeat of Rainbow. So I'm really glad all the time that we're virtual. Actually, I can't tell you how many times I've had tears, usually of joy, but sometimes tears that are pain for other people and the things they've experienced in their lives. Anyway, we've had everybody from all levels of our organization present. In fact, this summer, I think we had our executive sponsor who is a president at John Deere, and Roberto Leone, our chair, our current chair. They presented. We've had lots of VPs and directors. We've had LGBTQ members of Rainbow, as well as lots of allies. And every time you really hear what is the reason, what's behind people's interest in our group. And I just love it. We started to get a backlog of people who wanted to present, and we were really excited about that. So let's see. Once we had a backlog of employees signed up, we decided that we actually might have a really good chance to continue these coffee chats. And we decided it was important to start collecting some data. We used the emojis with, I think the initial coffee chats were all done in Skype. And we used the emojis for people. I think I didn't mention that the coffee chats are an exclusive invite to Rainbow ERG members as well. And that's really important because we wanted to make sure we maintained a safe space for our members. Surprisingly, we still have maintained that to this day. However, we do encourage members to invite their colleagues, their friends, their managers, and we use those emojis for people to tell us if they're new to the coffee chat, if they invited their manager and their manager came, things like that. We started to track all of that data, and let's see. So over the last 3 years, we've been having the coffee chats every single month. Elliot, if you'll go to the next slide, that would be great. Thank you. You can see here in this chart that when we started the coffee chats and started to collect data, that we had about 57 attendees per coffee chat on average, and we had just a little under 600 members. As the coffee chats grew each year, we would gain about 50 new attendees in the average attendance for coffee chats, and the membership would grow a phenomenal 500 members per year. So you can see today, we have just a little under 1,600 members, I believe, and we're averaging about 200 attendees per coffee chat. I've had people at the company who've reached out to me and told me it's quite literally their favorite meeting that they ever attend at John Deere, and they hate to miss them. We actually do record our coffee chats. They're behind a they're stored on our SharePoint site, but only access is granted to people who are members. So that would keep people still feeling safe. We've had lots of our ERG members who actually gained the courage to come out as LGBTQ for the first time at John Deere on these coffee chats. It's been amazing. Let's see. I think the last thing I really wanted to share is that we've had a huge success with these coffee chats. Other employee resource groups at John Deere have taken note, and at least 4 other groups have started to use the same platform to get more engagement out of their membership. And I would say also having this established platform already was really good for us when the pandemic hit, because we already had a good virtual platform and we were able to succeed with our Pride Month activities because we already had a good virtual platform to engage our members all around the world.
Yep, we'll definitely, sorry, Angie, I was going to say, we definitely are going to talk to that in a couple of slides too on that, and then also kind of how we've done some best practices with others. But we had some great questions come in, and I thought before we get to our next section, we could answer a couple of them. And Angie, I'll put the first one to you. How do we define a member in our chart here that we're looking at?
So you actually need to join our mailing list to become a member. And one thing that we actually did early on is we created a bunch of separate distribution lists, because initially we only had one big list. And as we started to get more activities planned in different units, we created separate lists that were more location specific. So when we had socials and things, we weren't overwhelming everybody on the mailing list with specifically, information about different areas, activities they couldn't participate in. But people do have to join our group and become a member, sign up to receive the emails to be a member. We do have some other opportunities. People who don't want to join the group and don't want to actually receive the emails, we have an ally pledge that's hosted on our SharePoint site. People who want to show everyone and make it clear that they are allies, they can go and sign the pledge and not join our membership list. One of our younger and newer Deere employees and a really great Rainbow member, she likes to tell people that she uses that ally pledge as a tool to go out and see when she's having meetings with other people to see if they've signed the ally pledge, because then she feels like she can be her authentic self with those people that she's working with. And when she doesn't see their name, she's been pretty bold and shares with them that she would like to see their name there. And they have a great conversation, and she's gotten a lot of people to go sign it and learn more about our group that way.
Okay. We've seen a lot of other questions. I'm going to move us along actually to the next section, because I think I'm going to answer a lot of your questions with what we're going to do next. We're actually going to do a coffee chat with y'all. We're going to have one of our Rainbow members give a version of his coffee chat that he gave just a few months ago. And you'll see a little bit how we structure this. So someone asked about like platforms. We have used Skype in the past. We're moving now to Teams at John Deere, Microsoft Teams, but we've used other WebEx and other platforms for chats in the past. The chat that we had this summer was such a large chat that we actually needed to use a different platform that we had at Deere for some of our all-employee meetings, because we knew it was going to get 300 to 500 attendees. So it was going to be a really big one when we had our executive sponsor present. Along with the next person who I'm going to introduce. So the formats and things like that, we have, again, the templates in the files section of Pathable. So we'll go through that if we have time as well. But really the chats are who you are, where you work, so people can get a sense, because we are a global company, passions and hobbies, and then why LGBTQ inclusion is important to you. So at the start of the chat, we'll do things like ask people to raise their hand in the chat box, as Angie said, if they're new to the chats, or put an emoji in if they're bringing their manager with them or a friend, and we do that. But I'm going to skip that part today and just give you more of the sense of what the authenticity of the storytelling is that we use through this by introducing our Rainbow Chair this year, Roberto Leone. And I will let Roberto really tell his story here as we would on any normal coffee chat. So if I was hosting it, I'd say, here's Roberto. We're going to let Roberto talk about himself. We encourage questions in the chats. Oh, someone asked how often we do these. Monthly. So we do these monthly. So Roberto, you are our coffee chat guest for today. So I will turn it over to you, and you just tell me when to advance the slide, please.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for the introduction, Elliot. And good afternoon, evening, and morning, everyone, wherever you are in the world. My name is Roberto Leone. I'm originally from Rock Island, Illinois, one of the cities that makes up the Quad Cities, born and raised. I attended a small liberal arts college here in Rock Island, Augustana College. I majored in computer science and business and a minor in English literature. So welcome to our coffee chat, and I'm excited to spend a few minutes with all of you today. Professionally, I just celebrated 22 years at John Deere this past September. I've leaned more on a focused career and refining my craft with an internal audit primarily. My current title, as you can see, is IT Audit Manager. I love my work, the travel and relationships I've developed over my career. Internal audit is a unique function where you can interact with IT, finance, external partners, and learn about all of the business segments within the company. I started my career as a contingent during college, where I got my foot in the door as an infrastructure analyst in the data center, where I primarily worked second and third shift hours after class and on Friday and Saturday nights. While most of you were out partying or sleeping, I was applying change controls to the mainframe systems. But I found that this role was useful to me. I became an IT generalist through exposure to all of the technologies we support at John Deere. It turns out this was a great background to leverage within IT audit, which I was introduced to as an idea through a job shadowing session at the time with my cousin, who also works at Deere. So do not discount opportunities to job shadow. Those experiences are awesome to inform you and what your next career step could be. A fun fact, I'm also a third generation John Deere employee. My grandfather, father, two uncles also worked for and retired from John Deere. Next slide, thank you. So if I had to come up with a word cloud of what characteristics describe me or bring me joy, it would be these words in no particular order, and I'll share later some context around these pictures: traveler, foodie, politics, music, films, family, and diversity champion. I've been blessed through I've been very blessed to have visited over 35 plus countries to date. The most recent being Japan last September with my partner. Having traveled internationally with internal audit, I've become a bit of a foodie and a restaurant enthusiast, and that includes enjoying and learning more about wines and cocktails globally. I've been raised in a very political family from a very young age. I understood what my family as Italian immigrants had to sacrifice and work hard for a better life. My grandparents instilled the importance of being civically involved, whether it be elections or community service. I am a child of the 80s, so I grew up listening to all the 80s icons and those still living today. Anyone who knows me also knows I enjoy remixes, and the SoundCloud platform is great for that. And you can see I'm a huge Madonna fan. I've enjoyed movies all my life. One of my favorite memories are my parents dropping me off with my brother and cousins at the theater on a Saturday afternoon, and we would all go see a few movies back to back until we got hungry and were ready to leave. As an adult, and with streaming services now, I really enjoy the documentaries available on Netflix and Prime. Recently, 13th Disclosure are two I've recently seen that I've enjoyed. And also, I've been watching Rami on Hulu, which is fascinating. I mentioned earlier, my family immigrated from Italy. I am a first generation US citizen along with my younger brother. Both my parents had 7 siblings each. So I had a lot of aunts and uncles, first, second, third cousins in the US and throughout Europe. Family has always been an important part of my life. And my parents did a pretty good job of preserving, I would say, Italian traditions while integrating well into American culture. I also want to make a distinction with family in quotes. It's a concept which is known to many LGBT individuals. For many LGBT friends and family, they do not necessarily have supportive blood family and often choose a family of their own. Friends they can confide in and are also typically LGBT or allies. So not only do I have a beloved blood family, but also a family of my choosing, which I consider my brothers and sisters as well. And finally, diversity topics resonate with me. When a part of ourselves is different from the mainstream culture, it generally sparks a passion for D&I. If anything, it's about self-preservation. We all want the opportunities to reach the best version of ourselves and the life we want to build without unjust impediments. So I've really enjoyed being on the steering committee for Rainbow, but also joining ERGs to be part of the conversations with many other affinity groups. So now let me just walk you through some of the photos from the top left to right. You'll notice Jerusalem, Israel, the Wailing Wall. I was able to visit Israel twice. Really enjoyed Tel Aviv for its vibrancy, the culture, the beaches, and the nightlife. But Jerusalem was especially surreal because you have 4 prominent religions and cultures all sharing what feels like a very small space. And you can feel the tension in your bones, but also feel the history. Whether you're religious or not, the experience will affect you almost through osmosis. The Wailing Wall was one of those experiences where I got to write down a special wish and tucked it into the cracks of the wall. On the bottom left, you'll notice a picture of me with my mom at the Duomo in Milano. After my dad passed in 2013, I took my mom back to Europe for her to spend a good month with her siblings. And we also took the opportunity to visit sites. That was a very special visit for me because I also got to see where my parents grew up in their small village of Prizzi near Palermo in Sicily. To the right of that, you'll see the iconic Christ the Redeemer statue in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. I've been able to visit Brazil several times as we have operations there in several Brazilian regions for John Deere. Next to that, you'll see a picture with a lot of people in there. Those are my first and second cousins in Lugano, Switzerland. And this was from the same visit where I took my mother in 2013. So it's been amazing to be able to spend time with them and get to know them better. And then who's special to me? On the top right, you'll see my partner, Andrew, who lives in Chicago. He is a chief informatics officer with his company there in healthcare consulting. And we split time between the Quad Cities and Chicago. So I say we're a commuter couple. We travel frequently to Hawaii every year. That's our favorite spot. And we haven't been able to go this year, but we're looking forward to the next visit. And we're celebrating more than 8 years together. Below, you'll see a picture of the family I was speaking of earlier. And these are really my brothers and my bestest friends. In the middle, you'll see Kevin and Marty. They had asked us to be part of their special day. They were married in Maui. And to the left, Dave and Adnan, they were married in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. So they've had destination weddings. So I guess I have some work to do there. But these are my chosen family. And then in the middle, Madonna, huge fan. This was, I got lucky with Ticketmaster. The gods were shining on me that day because I was able to score runway seats for the Rebel Heart Tour. And that was a really unforgettable, amazing live experience. So that's a little bit about my personal side. I want to end off and leave you with why inclusion, LGBT inclusion, matters to me. Folks, my personal story is still a work in progress. I spent a better part of my career covering or hiding my LGBT identity as I didn't really want the spotlight on me for that reason. I would say I internalized homophobia at a young age through high school and college and into my career because I didn't want to be questioned or judged or discriminated against, especially in the late 90s. I was still in my early 20s, still living at home. My parents raised me Roman Catholic and had expectations of traditional heteronormative family values and roadmap for their sons. I didn't really have any LGBT role models or mainstream television characters to help start that conversation about being gay. When I started at John Deere, I didn't know of or see many managers or even peers who were out and proud. So I assimilated as best I could. Even though I'm sure my colleagues knew or suspected, I participated in this culture of avoid the topic and do not talk about this part of your life at work. So Pride Month promotes recognition of LGBTQ plus contributors to society and reminds us how those role models are critical for people struggling to find themselves and find affinity with people like them, and that we are not alone in this world, that LGBTQ persons are not cursed. This is why it matters when famous people, athletes, political figures, writers, actors, or company leaders and coworkers come out. It wasn't until recently where I felt more empowered and courageous and vulnerable to open up more, largely due to the support I received through Rainbow. I say this because there are many of you on the call today listening who are not out, and I'm here to tell you that is okay. You do what you are comfortable with, and no one should pressure you to come out. For some of you, selectively coming out is appropriate, and for others, you may have come into the company already out and proud. The other perspective I want to bring is just how our journeys are so different generationally, and how familial influence, support, and norms shape the coming out process or lack thereof. The idea of management setting up an environment that is safe for all to be themselves is critical in enabling LGBTQ plus employees to come out at work, especially if that first step is coming out to your boss. Coming out to my manager has been liberating. I can now build on this key relationship, have more authentic conversations, both professionally and personally, and I've gained an influential ally. I only wish I was able to come out sooner. And waiting to do that was hard on me. So that's a little about me. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to share today in a safe space. And thank you for listening. Feel free to ask me questions in the chat window. Elliot, over to you.
So thanks, Roberto. And everyone, Roberto just did this presentation and during our Pride Month coffee chat in June, where we had Roberto and our executive sponsor, Mark von Pence, who sits over in Germany, give the presentation for him as well. And Mark is an extremely amazing ally for us and has helped our ERG and helped our cause for inclusion at DEER a great deal over the last few years. But Roberto, I think what's so powerful about these chats, and you really brought it home, even though I've heard you tell this story to me personally and in front of large group before when we did in June, is, you're sharing this with an audience that is a safe space because it's our membership. So we've got a lot of people from the community there, but we have so many allies, and this is an opportunity for a lot of them for the first time to maybe put a face to something that they've just thought of. Like they might have joined the ERG just to say, I want to be an ally, or maybe it's just my boss told me to join an ERG. I mean, companies do have that sometimes where they have goals that say, hey, we want everybody to join our ERG. But, I think the personal connection that you saw, and Angie mentioned it earlier, that we've had people come out on the calls or talk about relatives, children, sisters, siblings, spouses even. Can you share something maybe, Roberto, maybe just about what that connection is like for you when you're both presenting or in the audience?
Well, just like I felt the first time I did this, it feels liberating. I have not been out to everyone in the workplace. And for me, I was coming out for literally the first time when I did this presentation during Pride Month. So it feels good and cathartic just to speak in this safe space. And I think that is, if anyone's gone through that, you know how it can feel. So to do that again, I'm just reminded how good it felt. And I know I'm amongst family and friends here. But for a lot of people, as Angie mentioned, this is their safe outlet. They may not have the support system at home. And when they come to work, when they badge in through those doors, this is their safe space. And so they find their community for the first time often. And it's always it brings us joy and satisfaction to see that. And I think that's that's the intangible benefit of doing this. So I really encourage people to tell their stories through this platform. And if you can start this at your company, I think you'll see the benefits as well.
Okay, well, we've got some more slides that we'll go through. We'll keep looking for questions as they come in. So Anderson, I believe I am turning it back to you.
Okay, thank you, Elliot. So with the huge success of the virtual coffee chat and also due the global relationships of the teams, Rainbow's ERG initiatives rapidly expanded outside the US and gained global participation. Many of Brazilian employees started asking, oh, can we have Rainbow here? Because it's awesome. It's a great opportunity, right? And with the possibility of a virtual connection, our employees from all units and countries began to participate in the meeting, not only as listeners, but also presenting their stories just as Roberto did. It was at the beginning of the global growth and a focus on the topic I've never seen before. We reached new people and create a large interactive network. But in the other hand, the request to create local meetings to give them all the opportunity to express their voices started to become more and more evident. For 2020 plan, we decided to launch the virtual coffee chat in Brazil, Mexico, and Argentina to give the chance for all employees to participate in the native language. So there are 2 sessions in our region. In Portuguese, virtual coffee chat became Papo de Aliado, and all employees in Brazil can participate. In Spanish, we kept the original name, and all employees in Mexico and Argentina can join together. The core activity of the Rainbow ERG in Latin America is the Ally program. And here, everything starts with the formal training on LGBT awareness and continues with the monthly meetings at each unity, aiming to discuss this topic and strengthen the group. In addition to the meetings of each unit, our version of the virtual coffee chat was introduced as a national meeting where the volunteers present themselves and we can know each other. In the first edition, we have a huge success. In here, we would like to highlight the 2 main reasons. Instead of starting from the scratch, we consult Elliot and all the team in US, and we use all the guidelines and templates they have created there, and this facilitated our worker a lot and the definition of the process. And in addition of all of this, we maintain the same identity. And the second one is the direct connection that language in culture brings, right? Because we had 75 participants in the first edition, and we received a lot of positive feedback saying, oh, now everyone can participate without fear, right? Now we can express our best words loud. We don't have to think in another language, and we can discuss our reality here. So that's the reason the virtual coffee chat was a huge success also here in South America. So
yeah, you bring up a couple of great points there, Anderson, and we had a question that came in through Pathable. One of the questions was, how do we get people to start to speak up at these meetings? That sometimes it might be tough to start the ball rolling. And I think there's a couple of things that you just highlighted. One is if you do have a global audience, maybe it's going backwards from the way we did it. It's thinking about starting it in the local place where people can speak in their native languages, because it does ease that level of comfort. And I know we also had chats start in Mexico and Argentina now as well. So we've been seeing that happen. But the truth of the matter is that you're going to need some people to lead courageously. So when I think about someone like myself, who, by all means, when you look at me, you say white male, which matches up with pretty much everybody at John Deere, unfortunately. When you look at the majority of our workforce right now, that's why we're pushing this, right? And we're trying to get more diverse workforce. There's a lot of white males at John Deere around the globe. And so the ones that are queer like myself, we have to come up and we have to be the ones to step forward. And if we're on a steering team and we're spending our time on this, we have to take that step. So it's tough. And you have to get that courage up, but if you have a supportive group around you, a family of ERG people, that helps a lot. I will speak from personal experience there. Anderson, there was one other question that I wanted to go back to too. I know that in the US, we've really stuck to about 10 minutes for each person's chat and then about 5 minutes for Q&A. And we do about 2 to 3 people per chat. For South America, specifically, you can speak to the Brazil perspective. Did you model that as well, or did you look to adjust that at all?
We kept the same structure, Elliot. And in the first meeting, I saw another question here, how we find a new speaker, volunteers to present. So here in Brazil, it's important to say that our LGBT movement started in a bottom-up movement. So we had a lot of young employees very anxious to express their pride. So it was easy for us because here we had a lot of people using colorful t-shirts and all of those things. So of course, in the first meeting was a little bit hard to find the presenters, but for the second we had a huge list and now we can choose and pick it up the presenters. And we kept the 3 presenters per meeting, and we maintain 10 meetings at the final of the meeting to discuss some topic here in Brazil. So in addition to the personal stories, we had discuss about some laws or rights that is very new here in our country.
Thank you. And Angie also brought in a good point in the chat. I see, one thing that we've learned to be, whether it's in Brazil, Argentina, Mexico, or the US, we are flexible with our coffee chat. So we plan on having 2 to 3 people per chat. Things happen, work gets in the way. We do these during the workday, and sometimes it could be a technical issue. It could be just, I've got triple booked, or I'm a manager and I got pulled away at the last second. We try to make sure we always have content to fill. So it could be talking about upcoming events. It could be talking about reflections from Out and Equal and what we learned and bringing that back to a larger audience. Because as much as we'd love 1,500 people from John Deere to come to Out and Equal, that's not realistic. So we have to try and bring that experience back to folks. So we try to build up those things in the backlog. Another great question before I move on to the next slide that just came in was, has there ever been an issue with anything unprofessional being brought up in the chats? Is there any pre-screening ahead? So I can start with that, and then I'd love to hear Angie's thoughts too, as a veteran of chats many. We try not to police the slides too much ahead of time. So just like Roberto shared those slides, he would have, if we were back in the, if we were doing this for real, he would have sent them to our chat facilitator, me in this case. I would have looked through and made sure that, he had his 3 slides and that he felt comfortable and kind of walked through again what's going to happen. But I wouldn't say, hey, what are you going to do? What are you really talking about here? Maybe it's vague. And we've actually had employees where they have sent me their slides and I have said, I think I know where they're going here, but I'm not 100% sure. And that has led to some really beautiful moments of people coming out where they were coming out for the first time at work, and maybe they didn't write it in their slide, but they had a picture or an image that they were going to do. That's not really unprofessional, but it just talks a little bit about more the level of policing that we do in terms of the slides ahead of time. Angie, any additional thoughts that you'd like to add on to that?
Well, I will say that we have Code of Business Conduct at John Deere, and there have not been many times, a handful, maybe 2 things specifically come to mind, where anything inappropriate happened. It wasn't presenters, but people who were attending rainbow sessions. And in the case of those, we certainly had to raise a compliance case and have those things investigated, and they were taken care of. But in general, I would say people are always very supportive. Everybody's story is different, of course. Like I said earlier, we've had people who came out for the first time at work at John Deere, and maybe it was coming out for the first time ever in any circle that they're in. I don't know. Um,
Yeah.
we haven't had people who go and tell other people's business. I mean, I've never heard of any instances of things like that happening. These are really supportive and safe spaces. And I don't know. I don't think
No, I
we've
think,
had issues like that really.
and I think someone else asked, what do we do to get people to kind of get off on the right foot with an ERG if they're starting from scratch or just looking to grow? And I think you just said it, it's a safe space. So, when we had one person who came out as a trans woman for the first time, or at that point in their life, I think they were identifying as non-binary and weren't sure yet where their journey was going to take them. We followed up with them afterwards to say, um, we usually record this and we put it in just a members only part on our SharePoint so people can rewatch these. We recorded it. Are you still comfortable with that? Because for them, it very much was um, a decision they believed in, but they didn't share with ahead of time. And we just wanted to make sure we were providing them the care that they needed and honor them and their story. And thankfully they said, nope, please share. And quite frankly, fast forward, 15, 16 months later, and that person is amazing and does so much with our ERG now and is such a wonderful member. And this is also help about developing leaders for the future within Rainbow. So I'm going to move along. We have a few more slides, but these are great questions. Keep them coming. I'm going to talk a little bit. Angie talked about this briefly in her earlier slide, but how this helped prepare us for COVID. Obviously, we miss seeing all of you in person. I miss it so much. I mean, this has been where I get to connect with Angie and Anderson and Roberto and the other members of our ERG that come to Out and Equal every year. And it breaks my heart that I can't see everybody. But at the same time, when my group chat started filling up on Monday, I felt like I was back in DC or back in Seattle, like it was the norm, veering from people talking about TV shows to what sessions they were going to. It was just, it brought me all back. So here we are in this world. We're doing this virtually. Out and Equal has been fantastic, and Aaron and Isabel and the rest of the team have done a fabulous job of getting this going. And for us at Deere, Rainbow really helped us get in the right place. For the coffee chats helped us get in the right place for COVID, especially with Pride Month. We already had virtual best practices. We already had templates. We already knew how to do meeting notices and key times around the world where we were going to know that we could get the biggest audience for our global groups. So when we were doing things like a virtual event with one of Deere's first out factory managers, for our Pride Month event, a retiree that came back and talked with us. We knew when we could hit the sweet spot to get as many people viewing that as possible. It's simple sometimes to think about technology, Skype, Teams, WebEx, etc., but it really made a difference for us to have those skills from doing these coffee chats so that we could port them there. And then the flexibility. I think, like I mentioned, we have times where people can't make a chat all of a sudden, and they're a presenter, and we're left going, oh boy, what do we do now? We've gotten so good at that now with a bench of people that we know where we can churn. So we had members that maybe were also inclined to do more because they've done the chat. So I mentioned the individual before who's now a great member of our team, Casey, and Casey just does everything that we put out to Casey. It's amazing. She's so great. We also kind of took a step back. We started this presentation, not started, but early on, we talked about how the coffee chats are about bringing people together and providing that safe space to create community originally, right? It was in that literal coffee chat room, coffee break room. With COVID, we knew this was a huge mental health crisis for the world, but especially for those in the LGBTQ community. This feeling of isolation was really hard. So we took a step back and we actually started creating little socials, little tea times, coffee break times, with members that were interested to do. We had about 350 members take advantage of this out of our 1,500, which is a pretty good percentage, and they carried on for weeks and months where people would just take 30 minutes to get together with themselves, and we were able to facilitate that again because we had this experience of facilitating virtual environments, and that was so great. And it just also helped us look at new ways to do Pride Month. So we did podcasts, we did videos, we looked at ways that people could consume things differently that normally we probably would have done in an office conference room, and thought about how we could do that differently. And I really don't think we would have been able to do that if we hadn't had the background of doing these coffee chats. Angie, you touched on this a little bit before, and we're still getting some great questions in here, but if you would talk briefly about some of the lessons that we've learned and shared with others since we really got this going to the kind of our peak coffee chat that we're at today.
Let's see. Well, I think the most important thing is to at least start with a solid plan. We have the template that we can share with our presenters. Of course, they have some flexibility with what their content will include in the final presentation. Being flexible, as Elliot mentioned, is really important, because sometimes we probably had 2 or 3 times when we had a presenter who was slated, and the day before or even the day of, they had something come up for work and they had to drop out. It's been really good to have other people who presented in the past who were willing to jump right in and share their coffee chat again. I think I mentioned in the chat window, we've had, we always have new people attending our coffee chats. So many people for the first time are attending who end up joining our group. So it's not like all the people on the chat have heard this story before. Let's see. One of the things that we do a lot of at John Deere is we collaborate on events with other ERGs. And by doing that, I think a lot of people are members for more than one ERG, and they're able to help amplify our voices. We can amplify theirs. And let's see. Roberto, do you have any other lessons learned that you want to share?
No, I think you hit it all. I just saw a question in here about if this is done during the workday, if there's any conflicting work priorities. You know, generally these coffees are done during the business hours and the morning hours to capture a European audience. It is later for our employees in India, but generally between 8 and 9 a.m. Central is a sweet spot. They are recorded for later viewing. And I think there was something else in that question. Conflicting work priorities. I just wanted to say, even at John Deere and maybe at some of your companies, D&I is automatically part of our people goals. It is an expectation that there's a D&I element in our performance goals. So these outlets actually help people at least start or make progress towards that goal. It might be introducing themselves to different ERGs, and Rainbow has this outlet now. They can join, they can be part of this community, be an ally, and participate in the coffees as a way to facilitate that goal.
Yeah, it's an easy win, right, Roberto? I mean, if you have a goal in your performance reviews that says you're going to get involved with D&I, and you can say, well, I'm going to fill that by going to a coffee chat once a month for an hour. That's pretty low commitment, right? And what's amazing is that we've had people that do that. And then the next thing you know, the next year they're saying, hey, I'd be interested in being on one of your subcommittees. And then flash forward a few years later, and they're on our steering team. Like, it's amazing to see how that engagement happens. So it's a great way to get people in the door. Someone else asked, you know, do we organize around events or themes? I saw another one, someone asked about themes. So we do some themed ones. Like, we will probably do one around our Out and Equal experience this year, where some of the 22 people that we have here for Out and Equal this year will go back and share some of their favorite lessons learned from other seminars, talk about the experience. And that's, by the way, how we've grown. I think some of our attendance here at Out and Equal too is because people hear about it and are like, I cannot wait to go. The other thing too is that we haven't done anything for World AIDS Day. World AIDS Day. That's a great suggestion. We did do something for Trans Day of Remembrance last year, where we had our normal coffee chat, and then we took the last 10 minutes or 20 minutes, and instead of having another speaker, we just read out the names of those that were taken from us by violence on to commemorate their memory on Transgender Day of Remembrance. And we did a little explanation though first, because again, we have allies in that audience that might not really know anything about the violence that our transgender community faces, especially those people of color, Black and brown. So we took that opportunity to educate as well. So we look at themes, but nothing in terms of saying, okay, well, we know we've got, maybe we've got an out bisexual member that's going to speak next month. Should we try and fill that in with 2 other members of that community that want to speak? No, it's really just happenstance in what we get there. So we also, just on this slide, the one thing I was going to mention, I think you actually said it, Angie, but just to reiterate, with those other ERGs, we've also had 4 launch their own version of Coffee Chats at DEAR. Mm-hmm. So 2 have done this since COVID, because they said, oh my gosh, now I see it. Like, I can cross borders and boundaries and also laptops to engage my members in a different way than I was before. So people have been asking throughout, like, how do you do this? And are you going to share these slides? And again, they are in the Pathable chat, but I'll pull them up here real quick. So let me share my screen differently here. New share. Bear with me here. All right, so here is our virtual coffee chat template. Whoops. New share. Bear with me, folks. There we go. All right, and then I'll just get out of the deck here and start sharing my other deck. Members, help me out here. I'm sharing the screen the right way. Are folks able to see it? Angie, Anderson, Roberto?
I see
I'm
a box
well. Yes.
over the PowerPoint.
Okay.
There, it's better.
All right. So this is a non-John Deere version that you can take away and take back to your companies and your ERGs that is available, again, on the Pathable under Files. This is the template that we use with, we usually just list out what day of the month, the year it is, who our participants are. Our next slide is usually announcements. So Angie mentioned this earlier. We have a call for volunteers, any other announcements that we have on hand. We have the emoji, again, that we use to have people acknowledge that they're there. We usually do a challenge, like next month, let's have 10 new attendees. And back when we could gather in rooms, in conference rooms, we would have people that would do that. And so if they were in a room, we'd say, let us know how many you got in there, so we could take, again, kind of capture an accurate metrics. So that was another way, back to questions about how we're engaging people locally or in smaller locations. If there's a safe space, literally, that people can gather in and participate together, then you know you've left there and you've found some people that you can build those relationships with. Then we usually have a title slide for each participant, and then again, who they are, where they work, pictures of themselves, pictures. You'll see this in all of our kind of templates here. Use the pictures. I can't tell you how many people have come back to us and said, those pictures really make the connection, because I'm seeing what they care about rather than just talking at me for a blank slide like this. More like, here's the pictures like Roberto shared. That helps so much. I'm going to switch my view back here if I can. All right, close that. All right, so the other thing that we have is a template for the facilitation, and this is the other piece that is in the Pathable Files piece. And so Angie touched on this earlier. Let me share my screen again for this. All right, so this is a facilitation guide. Now you can obviously customize this to your company and ERG, but we wrote down kind of everything here from how we're doing these monthly events. We set a time. These are how we set up our 15 minutes on average, allowing 5 minutes for questions. how we gathered presenters. We keep a list of past presenters. We also keep a list of their location, so we know, are we getting a lot of people that are presenting from one location? That might tell us that we've got a really robust presence there, but we might need to grow it in other places. We put in a copy of what we send out to our presenters. So for us, we always send out a note because we're very brand focused at Deere. No animation, no copyrighted pictures. Make sure we're doing it again to our code of business conduct. We talk about how we build the deck, and then there's best practices in here for the day of the call, the roles on the call, and additional tools and tips. So I'm not going to walk through all these slides because I feel like the discussion that we're having here in terms of going through this information is much better, but that's all in Pathable. So I really encourage folks to download those, and if you have questions, to follow up with us, because that's where we're going to be able to give more guidance here. So I'm going to go back to sharing this presentation if I'm doing this all right. All right.
Hey, Elliot, can I take a
Yeah,
minute
please.
to answer one of the questions in the chat?
Please do.
Jeff asked if outside of membership support, if we're invited to participate in other major initiatives at John Deere. I would say absolutely yes. We've been a part of a program called Men as Diversity Partners that's launched at John Deere. We were part of the pilot 3 years ago, I
Yep.
think. We've been participating ERG ever since. And I will say that the pilot year, our group was slated last on the agenda for the meeting with the Men as Diversity Partners group. I think there were a lot of nervous people about how it was going to go, that our group might make these white men predominantly most uncomfortable. And it turned out to be amazing. It was so good that, they just said, just do what you did next time and every time. It was great. And we've had a lot of really great engaged people who joined our group after Men as Diversity Partners events. I don't know, are there other initiatives that you can think of, Elliot, that make sense to share now?
Yeah, just to give a little background on Men as Diversity Partners, that's really a program that we have at Deere for, again, white, male, cishet middle managers, because they're the ones that are doing the hiring primarily at our company. So they need to be exposed to other aspects of diversity that are outside their comfort zone, whether it be Rainbow or our Black Employees Resource Group, BERG, coming in. It's been a phenomenal program because that's where we need to start affecting the change, is by recruiting and attracting talent, and then getting that talent in the door and keeping them. And you need those middle managers to be open to discussions like Roberto discussed in his own coffee chat earlier about having a manager that is there. I'm seeing some questions too coming in about our 101 LGBTQ 101 course. We can take that back to some of our other team members that helped create that and see what we could share out, because it's all very Deere branded. So what we could do to kind of strip away, like I've done with the handouts that we have out here. So if you want to connect to us, our contact information is all in the Pathable piece, but reach out to Roberto or myself or Angie or Anderson, and we'd be happy to follow up on that.
Yeah, and Elliot, I can just add that we had a lot of really great material from the Men as Diversity Partners engagements. We also, a few years ago, we had an opportunity to present to the Regional Diversity and Inclusion Council. That was an amazing opportunity, and that got some of our senior leaders more engaged with our group. So we had a lot of good material as a result of that. We had gone for a whole year. We collected data on getting senior managers and directors to invite us to come and present to their teams. So we had all this material, and we used a lot of that in addition to sharing some personal stories, I believe, in the LGBTQ 101 course that we developed. And we started with that being available as a voluntary course in the US. I believe it's now expanded and available to employees for John Deere throughout the world.
It is. And you mentioned something there, Angie, too, that I'd be remiss if I didn't say, is that a lot of the material that we build comes from we just keep building on it. We get that rock rolling. So if it's someone doing a great coffee chat with their story, we might say, would you mind sharing that story again, maybe in front of a local HR council that's doing a diversity and inclusion meeting with their local leadership, because you sit in that location. Would you mind, do you feel comfortable being out with them and sharing your story there? Because then it gives them that direct connection, right? And creates a connection with them. And then what if we captured that with animation? And we did that with the 101 course and with our Pride Month, where we've done those short animated videos of well-meaning Wilma, who is
Oh,
an
I
ally,
love it.
sometimes,
Yeah.
sometimes struggles. And some of those examples that we use in well-meaning Wilma are from stories that our members have shared, like being misgendered or being asked about their assumed heteronormative spouse, right? Tell me about your wife, Elliot. Tell me about your husband, Angie. And using those stories to put them into again, an avenue where people to consume them.
The well-meaning Wilma videos, they're incredible. They're like 1.5 minutes long. Everybody has time to watch a video for 1.5 minutes. We publish it on our Yammer group. We send out newsletters during Pride Month. And Wilma, she's growing in her allyship and learning how to be a better ally and an advocate over the years. I think this is the second year we've had her as a character. And this year, I was so pleased to see there were some Easter eggs hidden in the little video segments. Wilma had an ally badge. We have the rainbow ERG ally badges that people who are members get. We also have safe space magnets that we can place in our workspace when we're in the office. We also have some really cute little stickers with our rainbow wheat visual that we have here. You see it in Elliot and Roberto's. Oh yeah, there's the badge. Anyway, I was so excited when I saw all of those things, the sticker, the ally badge, the magnet, all embedded in the little animated short clips with well-meaning Wilma.
Yeah, and the rainbow wheat that is, I pointed the wrong way, right there behind my shoulder. That's our logo that we had designed by one of our members that was so willing to take their time and build that for us so that we could have a unique identifier within John Deere. And when you're with a company that has a 183-year history, there's a lot of built-up history, and our brand is really vital to us because there's a lot of people that put great importance on that, rightfully so. So we were really pleased that this year we actually got matching shirts for the first time to wear to Out and Equal with our John Deere logo on the shoulder. Oh, see, now I'm getting on our shoulder there. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big deal for us. So, I mean, I appreciate a lot of people are saying, well, these are great practices. We've had some great successes. We're still working, folks. I mean, we have a lot of hurdles ahead of us. We're still working on getting pronouns in our signatures officially. And, those are things that we come to Out and Equal, just like you do, to hear best practices that we can take back to advance our cause. And I don't know, Roberto, do you have anything you want to maybe add to that?
Yeah, someone mentioned about well-meaning Wilma, some of the stories. She's a really well-intended, straight woman in the office. She's, I think, a middle manager, and she's making mistakes, and colleagues are kindly pulling her aside and correcting her, and she takes that and does better the next time. It's really awesome to see her growth. And I think in one of the stories we did, we actually launched our first ever Ally Week, which isn't Pride Month, it's different. Ally Week focuses on education and awareness for our straight allies and helping them address topics that maybe they just don't know how to get started about conversations. Take, for example, pronouns. So one of the newer storylines with Wilma has her misgendering an employee in the workplace, and she is corrected in a respectful, graceful way. And then going forth, she's now empowered with this knowledge, and you kind of see that journey. But these videos are done through a platform called Beyond. It's a SaaS solution, if you're wondering. But we curate it in-house, and it's just wonderful. If you have creative people on your team in communications or branding or great writers, utilize them. You can create amazing material for your community.
Absolutely. I think we are getting close to answering all the questions. This has been so amazing. It's exceeded my wildest dreams to connect with y'all again. Wish we could be there in person with you. You'll see some of the contact information. Someone asked if we're going to load the deck itself into Pathable. Yes, I think I can still do that. Deborah from the O&E staff will let me know if that's not the case, but I believe I can still upload additional files there. So I'll put the deck out there as well. And then again, the tools. And seriously, if y'all got any questions about them, how we're doing this, or what do you do with these templates or facilitation guides, reach out to us. We are passionate like all of you. You know, I've heard the gay job, your day job. I can't separate them anymore. It's just, it's my job, and it's both. Thanks again for everybody. And any closing words from Angie, Roberto, Anderson? Let's hear from you, Anderson, because I know we've had you quiet here for too long. Any closing words from you?
No, I just would like to share that those material are very helpful, trust in me. So if you are thinking to start the coffee chat in your company, I'm sure that those material will be very helpful for you, because for us here in Brazil, it was very, very helpful. So that's my final comments.
Thanks,
And
Anderson.
Elliot and Angie and Roberto are the best partners, and I love to work with you. And I can feel your energy, even here, too far from you. But that's the reason the connection is so powerful. Well,
Angie, any last thoughts from you?
Well, I think I said earlier that I really love my day job, but my gay job is what I'm most proud of. And working with all of Elliot, Roberto, the other steering team and subcommittee folks, it's really been like the best part of my job. And what they've done in South America is incredible. I mean, they were actually doing things that we couldn't accomplish in the United States ahead of us, and you know, in a country that is very challenging as an LGBTQ person, and knowing that their work was maybe a safer place than outside of work, it's a terrible thing that it's not better in general there, you know, for LGBTQ people. But it makes me happy that John Deere can be a safe place and people can bring their authentic selves to work and do their best work.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Elliot.
And thank you, Anderson. That was well said, Angie. The work that Anderson and his peers have done there has been amazing. Roberto, close us out.
You know, it's all about the storytelling, folks. That is the powerful element of the virtual coffee chats. It's the storytelling that makes us human, that brings the connection to people that are new, that are wanting to come out, that need that outlet. And that's been the biggest takeaway for me of the importance of virtual coffee chats. And everything you do, and any in your ERGs, if you can incorporate storytelling as an activity, you will be impactful, guaranteed. And everything that we've shown you today, the work that's been done through these years, especially the last few years, it takes a village. I've just been so honored to be able to serve on a steering committee the last few years with Rainbow. And these folks are not just my colleagues, they're my friends and my family. And I'm just so thankful for everything that everyone's done here on the call. Thank you, Elliot, for organizing this. And thank you for everyone in the audience for coming to our session and listening. And please come out, reach out to us on LinkedIn or email. We're happy to share. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of Summit, and thanks again.